Greetings. I thought you might like to join me today in a little bit of my witch's housekeeping. If you saw one of my last videos a couple weeks ago, I told you that we had a special burning to celebrate the equinox, and one of the things that we burned, of course, we burned the poppet that I had made for my husband's health, but we also burned that evening 2 witches' purses that we had hanging inside our home. One at the front, inside the front door, above the front door, one inside the back door, or our main back door. We burned those. And I said at the time, we had had them up for a while, and we felt it was just time that they be burned. They had absorbed a lot of negative things, and we thought it was time for them to go. So we did burn them as a part of our little ritual that we had here on that evening. And I haven't been able to make purses. I just remembered, we're talking about getting ready for Samhain, of course, now at this time. And of course, some of the things that we do, because the veil is becoming very thin, the spirits are out there, and I want to make sure that, while good spirits, those of our loved ones, especially, are very welcome here at this time, some are not. Some are not welcome. And that's one of the reasons that we have the purses hanging above our doors. And now when I say purse, that's something I call it. Some people call it a sachet. Some people call it a gree bag, I think. There's a lot of different names for it, but basically it's something that I usually use a little bag. I make a little bag. I think you saw earlier this year too, when we had the new hens go out into the school, out into the chicken yard, out into the school. You might have seen my husband performed we hung a purse on their house, on the school, and my husband did a protection around that house for them to keep them from harm, and he hung a purse on there. We have a purse also on the hen house, and I have a purse protecting the cats out on the sea porch where they spend a lot of their time. So I just made a sack, and when we did the chicken, the ones we used on the school for the hens, for the pullets, they were pullets at the time. I think we just cut a circle of fabric, and I took a running stitch around there, and we just then made it into a little bag. That's one down and dirty way to do it. It's really easy to do. Anybody can do it. But let's say you don't want to cut. Let's say you don't want to make a circle. Okay, maybe that's a little too advanced for some people. I'm not sure. So I'd use any kind of a bag. And I have tons and tons of white linen, all kinds of linen, but I have a lot of white linen particularly, because in the SCA, all of our undergarments were made out of white linen, and our veils and our coifs, our hats, and my husband's his braids were made out of it, and my underdresses and his tunics, and there were so many things made out of it. We had yards and yards and yards and yards of white linen, and always scraps. And I don't like to waste, so I'm always using what I have. You can use the little gauze bags. I know you all know what I'm talking about. I might even have one here. I'm not sure if I do or not. The little gauze bags that you get, they're usually sold for party favors or wedding favors or whatever. They come in all colors. If you have ordered for me, I send a lot of my orders out in those little bags. Those are perfect, and a lot of people use those, and they're good for that. But I don't like to use those for purses, for protection purses, particularly because I don't want the contents of my bag to be visible or noticeable for those reasons, okay? So my door in my hallway is painted in a light color. My room out here in the back, it's actually in pretty deep blue, but the woodwork where I hang the bag is white, or off-white, or I guess it's white. So they're not so noticeable. And the fabric, you could maybe stretch it if you had light to see through it, but for the most part, what's inside here is private. So I don't like to I don't want to advertise what's in the bag. So I don't like the gauze bags for that reason. I don't like, and I like to be subtle. These bags hang there always, and nobody has ever said, "What is that bag hanging up here?" Nobody has said that. They don't even notice them hanging up there. They take up no space, and people don't normally look up there. So anyway, I thought I would show you a really simple way to make the bag another kind of a bag, one that will do this. The same thing, we like to close it, and then we like to wrap it, and I'll show you how I wrap it. I'll show you in a better camera angle. But since I have to make two, I have one made, and then I'm going to finish the other one for you today. So you can see how simple it is. We're going to fill it, and then I'm going to put my intention on it. I'll put it we'll go in the parlor, and I'll show you how I place my intention into the bag. What I use, what we use to do that. What I use to do that. That's just one way to do it. I don't always do it exactly the same way. And I do have videos elsewhere on my channel. I will try to link to show you a couple other suggested ways of doing these things, of course. But use your judgment. Use your judgment. But the reason I wanted to do this today is because I think this is really important for everybody at this time of the year, particularly if you're going to do working with ancestors or spirits or having a lot of people coming in your home at this time of the year. Put up some kind of protection. Either I've showed you some secret ways to put them so that nobody can see them at all but you, or subtle ways like this, and just do what you can. I think do what you can. So I'm going to change my camera, but first I want to show you I don't think I need you quite yet. First of all, what I'm going to do is I want to show you what I took. I just roughly estimated I wanted a bag about that big. So I cut a piece of my case. It was linen. And I think this is about 5 inches wide and about 12 inches long. That's just an estimate. The other one was it wasn't even cut. It was torn. The one I'm working on is torn. One edge was torn. So it doesn't even matter if it's straight. But this is an absolute, very, very simple way to do it. That the most important thing, though, if you're going to make something, remember what you're going to do with it when it's done. Remember when I told you about when I took them down from my doorway at Maybon for the burning? We did burn them, but I said if I didn't burn them, I would bury them. And so in both cases, we need to make sure that what we make them out of and what we put inside is nothing toxic that's going to hurt the earth if we bury it, that it will break down in the earth, or it will, if we burn it, we're not going to have bad fumes from it, or, it's natural fiber. It's natural fiber. That's what's really important. So use this case, I use linen, you can use cotton, you can use wool, you can use silk, any kind of a natural fiber that is non-toxic, okay? So don't use a synthetic, like a rayon or a polyester or whatever. Don't use those for this. That's not a good choice. Polyester would, no, I wouldn't use it. Okay, so we're going to start out, like I said, we're going to start out with approximately 5 by 12, whatever size you want. If you want it smaller, just cut that smaller. And then we're just going to fold it in half. And as you can see, it's a wrinkled mess. The edges don't even have to really line up. It's okay, because we're going to sew it very crudely. So I'm going to change the angle of my camera so that you can see how I'm going to do this. All right, I hope I can do it. So here we go. Okay, other than the fabric, I told you to get the fabric, take whatever size you want, fold it in half, folded edge at the bottom, and then we're going to just take a series of very crude running stitches up each side. And we're going to stop on each side when we get to the top. And I have done it here on this one. I'm sorry, I apologize, it is white fabric, so you can't really tell. But this side has been sewn. I should be using a different color thread, but I don't really want it for, I have a large eye needle, because I'm using this crochet cotton that you can get at Joann's or you know, anywhere, Joann's or Michael's. I would say Hobby Lobby, but I don't encourage anyone to shop there. So we'll just leave it at Michael's and Joann's. Okay, so, and I'm just going to take, I don't know, I really can't tell if you can see the stitches or not. But there, I can show you with my needle how big I'm going. I'm just coming in from the edge, maybe a 1/2 inch. And I just am going to go in and out with my needle, trying to keep as straight as I can. And this is going to be a little clumsy because my needle is, most of my large eye needles are for yarn. They're for yarn, okay? And they have a blunt, they have a nice large eye where I can put the yarn in, but they're very dull on the end because they're for projects with yarn. So I like, you know, so I don't, they're hard to get through fabric. If I want to do something through fabric, I need a sharp one. And for some reason, this one is very old and corroded, and I hope it's okay. But it'll be fine. But I just want to show you. I'm going to try to show you with my needle. There, you might be able to see. I'll just go in and out with my needle, up and down. So what the amount is, you know, to do it neatly, you just want to make the space that's where the needle is under the fabric, and then where the needle is over the fabric, equal distance. So it just looks like that. And that's what's going to be your line. And you see how far away I am from the edge. It doesn't matter, we're not going to wash it, so we don't care if it's if it frays or whatever, it doesn't matter. But anybody can do this. And you of course knotted at the end. I knotted it here, and I started, I just went a running stitch up through the purse, the two edges together. And this is not a sewing lesson, so I'm not gonna, that's why I did it ahead of time. Okay, so I'm just gonna go, I'm gonna go to about here. And I'll show you why when we're done. I'm leaving about this much left at the edge, about 3/4 of an inch or something like that. So I'm at the edge, I have both sides sewn, and here I'm gonna just knot, take small stitches, couple of them in place, and put my needle through the loop, catch my thread so that I can knot it. So I just make a nice knot. And then I just cut that. Nothing hard about that, right? Everybody can do that. So then I turn it inside out, right side out, I should say. And again, this is not a very secure stitch, but it's perfect for what we need. So I just turn it. There we go. And now I have a little bag. But I want to have it be able to close, okay? So I take my thread again, and I don't have to knot it this time because I'm not going to pull it the whole way through. And I'm going to just start, I want to make the drawstring. I want to make this part that I can gather to gather the bag at the end. Okay, so I'll show you how I do it. And I go only from one seam to the next seam. So I'm going to start here, down where my stitches ended, and I'm going to just go in there, and I'm going to take the same kind of the running stitch just straight across, try to keep parallel to the edge as close as I can. But when I pull it through, I want to leave that at an end. I don't want to pull it the whole way through. I just want to, I want to leave room at that end, and I'll show you why when we're done. So I just leave like that so I don't pull it tight. This is a little tricky to get on a camera angle. I'm trying to show you. Okay. We get to the edge, it'll look better. And here I can just go clear to the edge. Back to, when I get to the seam, I stop, pull it out. Okay, and I'm just gonna make sure I leave one end this way, and I'm gonna leave another end this way. And I'm gonna, if I pull that out of the way, you can see I'm gonna cut, leaving a nice tail. Okay, now I'm done, I don't have enough thread, so I'm gonna have to do the other side. Let me get a piece of thread. I don't even have to cut it off of there. I'll just leave it. Okay, let's see if I can get this threaded. It's a trick to thread. There we go. There we go. Okay, so I'm just, you see I just left it on here because I don't know how long I need it. So we have the one side done seam to seam. And remember, we didn't go the whole way through. We only went through that single layer of fabric. Now we're going to go through the single layer of fabric here. Starting opposite the seam, on the other side of the seam. I'm going to come in here. The thread came out here. You see the thread came out here. So I'm going to start here, and I'm going to go through one layer of fabric only. I'm just going to go in and out, go across the side. And I don't have to leave about a tail because I'm still hooked on. But you'll see when we get to the other side. In and out, and this, you see, only just takes me seconds to get across. It's very slow, it's very quick. Okay, so now I have some on my needle, some still hooked onto the spool. So I'm going to pull out my needle, let's see. And I'm going to just leave a tail. I'm going to pull it so that my tails are even. This was my first tail. I make them about even. They don't have to be. So that means I can pull this back. So that my tails are just about even. I'm laying it down on the table. There, I have this tail. These two tails are about the even. So I come back here, and I want these to be about even too, so I cut it off. Okay, now I can pull so I have the same amount on each one because they're not hooked on anything. I can just pull, try to get them even on each side. About like that. Okay, so I just pulled it because nothing's holding it, right? Nothing's holding it. I have two tails on either side. Okay, and that's it. I have a little bag and I have a little drawstring, and we'll show you how I'm going to use that in a minute. Okay, now enough of that nonsense. Let's look and see what we're going to put inside. Well, there's a lot of things, and I want this to be very special to you. I want you to try to use, things that you have on hand. To make this something, you should not have to go out and buy things. Everybody has things around the house or around their gardens, or you can get things at the grocery store or whatever if you don't have anything. You don't have to have anything special. And the internet is there for you to help you, if you're not sure the properties of something, look it up, look up on the internet or look up on a book. Or look at one of my videos and see. I'm happy to share the information that I have. Okay. Okay, now here are my two bags. Remember, one's for the front door, one's for the back. You don't need to do that. You can put one. It's just what I do. I have a lot of doors in my house, and I have a pretty big, busy neighborhood, so I put up extra protection. But anyway, that being said, what am I going to put in it? You need to put in what you have, what works for you. This works for me, and I am picking things that I know the properties are properties that I want, and they're things that I happen to have. I'm not going to go out and buy anything special for this video. I don't want to do that. That's not what witches do. That's one of the reasons we have cupboards. And it doesn't have to be a witch's cupboard. A lot of these things can come from your kitchen. Some of these things came from my garden. But a lot of these things are readily available in grocery stores or whatever. But if you don't want to, if they're not, just put what you have or what you have easy access to. You can always look something up on the internet if you're not sure. If you want to know something like, particularly, let's say, one of the first things I'm going to put in is basil. Is basil a good protection herb? So put it in the Google. Is basil, magical properties of basil, or correspondences of basil, or good protection herbs or things like that, and that will give you a list of things that you can use, okay? So you don't have to, but also I make these kind of things all the time. You know the kind of things I use, and I'm sure you watch other people here on YouTube that will have some other recommendations for you. That's fine. You do what you have or what works for you best. So I have 2 small pieces of basil, and you will see I am using fresh herbs for the most part in this, not all, but for the most part I'm using fresh herbs, and that's okay because first of all, my fabric is very porous. You can nearly see my fingers through it. You can nearly see the air and the wave. It's very open wave. A lot of air is going to be in here, and I'm in a very dry climate, so this is not going to mold. It's not going to mold. I'm going to have it hanging out in the open. I'm not going to stick it away in a drawer in plastic. It's going to be fine. So basically, I'm going to leave it on the little stem and everything, and I'm going to throw it into my bag. I'm going to put 1 in each. Might as well real time. And basil is really good because I've done a whole video on basil, and I'm going to link to that below because I love basil so much. But the saying is, where there is basil, there cannot be evil. That's what people say. So it's really good for that purpose. Another thing that I like for this purpose is lavender. Okay, lavender is really particularly good, and this is lavender leaf. It's not flower. Oh, it smells lovely. And again, it's from my garden. It's not it's not dry, but you can use dried. There's nothing wrong with dry. I just happen to have a ton of it. Yeah. But lavender is really good because, particularly at this time of the year when I'm putting up here, because it's a good protection. It promotes peace in the home, which is important, but it also removes sorrowful emotions. And at this time of the year, we're talking about spirits of our loved ones that are now deceased, right? There's a lot of sadness sometimes. Sometimes the spirits that are out there are spirits who they're not content. They're restless, walking. Some people think they're walking. I think it's the energies, but sometimes the energies are not always happy energies. Sometimes they're sad because they're lonely energies or for whatever. So we have sadness, with our deceased ones being gone from us, is sorrow. So this is to help release that sorrow from us. So I'm going to put that in my bag. Okay, that's really good for that. I have rosemary. Rosemary is perfectly good. It's particularly good. It's good all around protection, and I have it growing in great abundance here. But I'm just getting that in too. But rosemary is some people believe it keeps thieves from entering the property. So anyone with ill intention, physical ill intention too, it will keep those people away. Another thing I have that is fresh from my garden, and I particularly want you to pay attention to this, is sage. And you can say, well, what kind of sage is that? Well, this is garden sage. Common garden sage, the kind of sage that you would use for cooking, the kind of sage that you would put in your stuffing, in your turkey at Thanksgiving. This is not California white sage, and I grow California white sage. Why am I not using it? I'm telling you, I tell you all the time, you don't have to have California white sage. It is not the only magical kind of sage. All sages have good properties. So whatever kind of sage you have is perfectly fine, and I'm proving it by using that instead of my California white sage. Okay. Another thing I want to put in here is I'm going to put mugwort. I love mugwort. I use mugwort a lot. It helps to keep evil spirits. This is going to help keep evil spirits from entering my property. And I'm just putting how much I think. There's no recipe. I'm just going to put a handful of it, down into my bag, down into each one. Okay. I love mugwort. I use mugwort in a lot of spells and a lot of incenses. I love the smell of it. Okay. Now, what else? Okay, I have pretty much my herbs in here. Now, other herbs that I could mention that are good in here that I'm not using, there's not really a particular reason I'm not, but a lot of people like to use bay leaves in their purses or their sachets. It's easy to be found. It's all around it's in grocery stores. You probably have it in your herb cabinet right now. It's very good for things. I use it a lot in spell work, but I don't like it for some reason. I don't like it in purses. It just doesn't seem something like I want to put in a purse. I don't know why. But I do like to use it, and it's really good. It helps to prevent illness, supposedly. Well, it didn't work that way for us, but like you use what works for you. Another thing that I find is good, really good, a lot of people love, is St. John's wort, because St. John's wort is really good to protect against fire, like physical fire, and I would, or like fire from your house being struck by lightning or whatever. That's really good, and that would be fantastic, and I could maybe use that, because if I had it, my husband is kind of a fear of fire, and I don't like, I had a lot of memories from being a child about people that were struck with lightning and things that lightning caused, even though I love lightning and I miss it very much. We don't have it here very often. But another thing that St. John's wort is supposed to do is banish witches, which I find that really funny. I'm a witch. I welcome witches into my home. I don't want to banish them. So maybe it's not something I would use. There are other things that can protect you against fire. I'm thinking of a couple in particular, which is I think holly and mistletoe both. I know mistletoe is very toxic. I don't like to have it in my house. I have to be careful. Holly too, because of the berries. It's toxic to pets, I think. So I don't really use them in the house too much. Mistletoe, I will put it where people can't get to it, but I don't. I really don't like it. I really don't like it. So I don't really use those. But if it works for you, those are really good. Okay. Another thing now, we're going to put in here, I forgot about, is cinnamon. Cinnamon is really good. You can play a tune if you have 2 sticks. But also cinnamon is good. It protects, but it also raises the positive energies in your home. So I'm going to put a cinnamon stick in each one of these things. You can tell right now, this is going to be smelling some kind of good. I think it's going to be smelling some kind of good. Okay. Also, sometimes we like to put some crystals in here. There's different ones you can use. You can use amethyst is good. That's really good to protect from negative energies, especially when you have groups of people. I don't know that I have any amethyst right now, readily. I think I have some in the parlor. When I take these in, I might use it. But one thing I do have here which is really good, is quartz crystals. And I have these little tiny quartz crystals, which are really good. And I'm going to put that in there. Citrine is good because citrine, it attracts citrine instead of just, have a lot of things that are repelling negative energy. Citrine will attract positive energy, so that's good. But I'm not putting those in. I'm probably not also putting amethyst in, even though I would like to if I can find some. Put it in here. But the clear quartz is good because it does dispel the negative and attract positive. So it's killing 2 birds with 1 stone. 2 things, 1 stone. So I'm just going to put one of those in there. And again, if I go to burn this at the end or go to bury it, a quartz crystal, we're just going to turn it into the earth. So it's no big deal. That's very safe. Okay, so those things. And I have one more thing I'm going to add. And that is, I have a little bit in the jar, is black witch's salt. And I have shown you on a video, which I will link to below, how to make black witch's salt. It is a beautiful, beautiful, powerful tool. You can use regular salt. If you don't have black witch's salt, I would put a little bit of salt. Any kind of salt. Any kind of salt. Iodized, sea salt, pink Himalayan salt. Doesn't matter what it is. Any kind of salt will work. The same salt is salt. Black witch's salt just has a little more oomph to it, a little more boost. Because it also will, it works to absorb and to trap negative energy. So any kind of negative energies that are trying to get in, they will trap. And I'm going to just use my little baby spoon here. I'm just going to put a spoon. Make my beautiful my white bag black. And there's even something left over from a spell that was burned to make this soap. salt, so that's very good. Okay, so that's that. And we're going to now, I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with the purses. The reason we made these little ties at the top is we can work those together like a drawstring, okay? And then I'm going to take one of this, I'm going to hold it tight, and I'm going to take one of the sides and I'm going to wrap it around. And then I'm going to take the other side and wrap it around the opposite direction. So I can bring them in the front together, and I'm going to tie it. Tie securely in a knot. And I always tie things in threes. That's just what I do. And then I'm going to leave the ends, because the ends then can be tied around however what I'm going to mount. If I have a nail or a thumbtack or whatever, I can just tie that in a knot around that, and that can hang. But before it's ready to hang, it has to be taken in. I'm going to take it into the parlor. I will take you with me. We're going to go in there, and we're going to I'm going to charge it. I'm going to charge them, and I'm going to put some magic into these bags. I'm going to put my intention into the bags, and leave them there. I'll show you what I'm going to do. Until then they will be ready to hang. Okay, there's my knot. There again, there's my strings left over for when we're done. We can put the then we'll be ready to hang. We can wrap that around a stick. Okay, so come with me into the parlor, and we're going to put our intentions into these. Okay, I've moved everything into the onto my spell table, and still in my parlor, and I'm going to today I'm going to be using 3 candles to charge my bag. I'm going to use spells. These are my spell candles I sell in my spell kit, different colors. I chose these for a reason. First of all, I want to show you what I'm going to do. I have a cauldron here full of sand. You can see that it has sand in it, because it keeps the wax from dripping. Also, when the candles burn down, it can just burn down right into the sand. I don't have to worry about fire, because I want to let these candles burn the whole way down. And before we use any candles, I want to remind you, or tell you if you don't know, when we first burn candles, we want to use candles. We want to trim the wick. The wicks come way too long, so we want to trim those before we ever light them. And we only want them to be about 1/4 of an inch long to get them to burn properly. Okay, so I cut the ends off of the candles first, and then I have chosen 3 colors here. To use. Black is pretty obvious. And I want to mention to you too, at this time, that when you buy spell kits from me, if you ever buy a spell kit from me, it has in the kit, basic spell kit has these little cards, little cards that I have made to help explain. Because the spell kit contains some common herb in here, just enough for a couple spells. And then on the back, I have correspondences with the kind of colors, to use the, you don't have to use the colors, but, it's just kind of interesting. But obvious it's black. We're going to use black, obviously, because we have black here, is to absorb negativity. It is also for protection and any kind of banishing. Well, these are the things we want to do, obviously, with our purse. So we're going to use the black candle for that. And usually when I use the black candle, I also use the white candle, and vice versa. When I use a white or any other color, I usually include a black in my spells. And white can represent any color, first of all, but it also is for any calling energy, bringing things in. But what do I want to bring in? I'm welcoming people who are coming here with good intention, who are coming here, in a space of love and trust. Okay, but it also is very good for spiritual healing and well, healing energy, all kind, but spiritual healing. Again, if we want to think of Samhain, where we're talking about the veil being thin, we want to, any kind of spell work or any kind of work you want to do, ancestor work, communicating with your ancestors. This is coming from a space of peace and love. So if there's any issues that you might have had with your loved ones that you didn't have a chance to correct before they died, this is really going to help this correction now, if you can communicate with them at this time. So I use it black and a white, and then I'm going to use purple. I'm going to include purple in here. Purple is it's good for all kind of psychic energy, but it is very good for communication with spirits. So I'm going to include that. Now, what am I going to do to them first before I light them? I have some of my black cat oil that I've just made. I sell this as well. It sounds like a commercial. I don't mean to be a commercial. But you can buy black cat oil. You can find recipes for black cat oil here on YouTube and elsewhere. Or a lot of people sell it. So I happen to sell it. Okay, so I'm going to take a pipette. And I'm going to take some of this black cat oil. And I'm just going to put a small amount in my hand. What are you doing here? Okay, and I'm going to take my candles. I'm going to just roll them around in the oil, get them coated with oil, black cat oil. You can use any kind of oil you want. I like for this instance black cat oil. Because black cat oil protects you, keeps you from being any hexes put on you, anything that are on you now, it can take them apart, take them away. So I like that. So I'm going to put the oil on there, and my oils I just continue on and I use them on my hand. They're all very safe oils. I'm also going to take my bag and rub some on the outside of it, get the excess oil off of my hands. Because that will help that very good. It'll help it a lot. And it also kept my hand clean. Okay, there we go. Okay, so I'm going to take my oil, close that up, and then I have herbs. Now, this, what I have in the bowl, this is a salad blend that I make. So I'm going to just take my herbs, my candles, and I'm going to just hold it over the bowl and sprinkle with some herbs. Okay, and then I'm going to put it in. Stand them in my cauldron. All right, so simple. There's no rhyme or reason to this. It's just whatever you think feels right. Just do what you think is right. What you feel right. There's nothing wrong. You can do it if it feels good to you. Do it. Doesn't matter how they are, what order they're in. And I make a mess, but like I always say, witchcraft is messy. You're going to get your hands dirty. You're going to get your hands covered with oil. You're going to mess up your table. That's okay. Because it's for beauty. It's not for beauty. It's for purpose. It's for purpose. Okay, so then I can remove this pipette away. Let me see. Because I want to sit. Oh, I'm just spilling everything here. I'm going to take my purses and I'm going to set them there on my little plate, okay? So I have my candles ready to light, and I have my charger, my lighter, which I don't like. I just can't seem to find my matches, but I don't like to use these, but I'll use it. This is probably what you're going to use. And I have my book of shadows here because I wanted to say, what do you what do you do? What is the next step? The only step really now is I'm going to put some intention into the candles. Okay. I'm going to put some intention into the spell, into chanting my purses before they get hung. Okay. You can do this in any way you want. You might have seen me in the past. I passed through something representing each of the 4 elements, or I might have God and Goddess candles. I might be doing this on my altar. It depends. But for something like a protection, something like a purse, I have a lot of protection in the bag already. I just want to add more intention as we're going. So I'm going to just light the candles, and then I'm going to just put my intention into the spell. And I'm going to say that I have written in here what I thought I would use for today. So something, I usually don't show this part on camera. I usually use my private intention. But this is something, that is very commonly done. And you saw when we put it on the school, for the Mrs. Pember's school, out in our chicken yard, for the pullets, when my husband went around and did the protection. These are the words that he used, more or less. So I have them. I thought we would use those words that he uses. And I'll tell you what they are, and then I'm going to say it. Light the candles and say my intention. My words are, Mother of us all, protect this house and those who dwell here from all evil, seen and unseen, and from all manner of negativity. Surround us with love and peace, and hold us gently in your arms. Okay. This is more or less the kind of protection that he puts around our property, around the hen houses, around the pets, he does this from time to time all year, so I thought that would be very applicable to put here. You can use the same words. Okay. So I'm going to light the candles, put my intention into the candles, and then we'll end this, okay? I have spells, all these spells sit on this table. This is for my cats. I did a video on that one time too. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to light the candles. In no particular order, doesn't matter. The magic is in us, not in the order we lighting the candles. Okay? Making sure they catch. Making sure they catch. And they're safely tucked into my cauldron of sand. Okay? Mother of us all, protect this house and those who dwell here from all evil, seen and unseen, and from all manner of negativity. Surround us with love and peace, and hold us gently in your arms. Mother of us all, protect this house and those who dwell here from all evil, seen and unseen, and from all manner of negativity. Surround us with love and peace, and hold us gently in your arms. Mother of us all, protect this house and those who dwell here from all evil, seen and unseen, and from all manner of negativity. Surround us with love and peace, and hold us gently in your arms. So mote it be. And there you have it. There you have it. Very, very simple. Very, very simple. Now I'm just going to leave this here. I'm going to leave my purses here with my cauldron of sand. My candle's burning in the cauldron of sand. My fans are off in the room, so I don't have to worry about that. I'm going to keep checking in here constantly. I keep the door closed, so no cats can come in here and cause havoc. But I'm going to keep an eye on these and allow them to burn completely down. And then, of course, we're going to take the bags and we're going to hang them up over the door. Okay? So, thank you for joining me. As always, I am Rebecca the Good Wife, and I wish you blessings.